Hi, I'm Jeff Stark. Thanks for being with me today. Today I want to talk to you about pornography. This is the third video in a series of videos that we're going to be putting together under the theme and under the umbrella of pornography. If you followed with us in number 1 and 2, we've talked about Tom and Becky, who Becky has discovered her husband, his interest in pornography. And as they have unraveled, when have you done this? How often have you done this? When did you start doing this? And so forth and so on. Well, it becomes a very, very sad thing and a very important thing and something that oftentimes requires counseling. And we've been talking about Tom and Becky and a couple of things that I've tried to pass along to them as I would clients who would come to me for counseling. Today we're going to pause on video number 3. We're going to push the pause button on Tom and Becky. And I want to turn my attention to talking to single guys. This video right now today, number 3, is going to be the first video that's going to be addressing guys, single guys who have a problem with pornography, and passing along some things that I think single guys really need to know and understand and take seriously as they hope probably one day to be married and enjoy that marriage and not destroy it by bringing pornography into it. But here's some things that I think single guys need to hear. And I'm glad if you're a single guy watching this, I pray that God will use this very, very deeply in your life. If it does, you may have other guys you know who are struggling with this. In this video series, this video number 3 and subsequent ones might be very important for you to pass along to your friends who you happen to know also are struggling and failing in this particular matter. This video for single men might be discovered by mothers and fathers who have sons who are struggling with this, or know of other parents who have sons who are struggling with this. And so, though this is dedicated to and speaking directly to singles, I would hope that other people would find it and perhaps find it helpful to pass along to other single men who are struggling and probably even failing in this matter of pornography as well. Okay, so let me turn my attention away from Tom and Becky. And guys, I want to talk to you about some things relative to this matter. First of all, I have an experience that you probably don't have, and that is in my counseling of couples for 40 years now, and a lot of that time being spent entering into the suffering that a man and a wife go through because of this problem. Here's what I have found, and you need to know this. This will be important for you to know. Every wife that I've had a chance to talk to whose husbands have been involved in this particular matter, they have always come into the counseling situation profoundly sad. It's not uncommon for them to grab the tissue box and start wiping their eyes because it's very, very sad that their husbands are doing this. They are very, very sorrowful. They are also equally angry, annoyed at the fact that her husband has been doing this, perhaps secretly, privately, and perhaps for a long period of time. So there's some anger there. There's also a very deep, profound sense of betrayal that they're feeling because of their husbands having betrayed them by doing this pornographic thing, and masturbatory as well. And so the reason why they're so sad and sorrowful and feel betrayed is because for the wife it feels very affair-like. It has a feeling like one has to go through when they discover that their spouse, the man in this case, is having an affair. Well, you would say, well, it's not an affair. I'm not having sex with women. A wife would not be, it would not be legitimate for a wife to feel that way, but it is, I'm saying to you, it is legitimate. What these wives are feeling are feeling it deeply, genuinely, and for a very, very good reasons, for 2 reasons. Number 1, it has to do with other women. Her husband is taking an interest in another woman, or 2, or 10, or 20, or 100, or 1,000, or 5,000. Every one of those photos that this man has looked at regarding this other woman is him taking an interest by looking and then lusting and desiring and then masturbating to these photos. Well, of course, he's bringing into their relationship these other women. Remember now, if he was a single guy, this would be a single guy's issue, but he got married to this woman, and the two now who have been joined together, they're one. And these women that he's looking at, he's bringing into their marriage, and that's why it feels like an affair, because he is bringing other women into that relationship with his wife. He may lie to himself in saying he isn't, but the wife feels it very, very much and very, very appropriately. And then secondly, it feels like an affair because it's sexual. Not only are these pornography images perhaps sexual, there may be sex being portrayed on these photos or these videos, but 99% of the time after you guys, I know, after you've looked at pornography videos or photos, you've masturbated. There's a sexual component to this pornography that makes the wife feel as though this has an affair-like sort of a feeling to her. Sex is meant for one person. It's meant with your wife to be. It's meant to be done with your wife only and with her in certain places and times, but there's an exclusivity to your sexual experience that is to be dominated and saturated by virtue of your wife and no one else. But for your wife feels like this is an affair because you're not only bringing these other women in, but you're masturbating to it, and that's a sexual experience that she wants you to have with her, and not by looking at and entering into it fantasy-wise with other women. So there's a very good reason why a woman would feel that this feels like an affair to her when her husband is doing pornography. And guys, you need to know that if you do this, you're bringing sadness and sorrow and anger and betrayal and hurt and disappointment into the life of your wife. And your wife is going to find out about it. Secondly, when a wife finds out, I've discovered in marriage counseling, when a wife finds her husband masturbating, it's a profound, usually almost always, not always, but almost always, a profound kick in the teeth to a woman's self-image. Because what she's saying to herself is, what's wrong with me? Does he find me attractive anymore? He found me attractive, but now he's looking at these other women, and is he making comparisons? Is that why he's having a difficult time in our bedroom and having sex? And what happens is she starts comparing herself with these images that she's making up, or images that she's forced you to show her what you've been looking at. And so she starts making those comparisons. She may say, well, I'm prettier than some of them, but there's a whole bunch of them that I'm not pretty with. When we roll in bed at night and we have sex, I don't have makeup on. I'm not all down. And so there's this comparison going on, and oftentimes she finds herself lower on the low side of the comparison instead of the high side. And that's damaging to a woman's self-image. And along with that, she feels like she has to compete with these images. She's going to have to do something to tear your attention away from them to her. So she starts making those comparisons and feels like there's something competitive going on here. So it's not uncommon for a woman to start going back to the gym when she finds her husband doing something like this and losing some weight. Because why? She's got to compete with your fascination, guys, as a husband, with the husband's fascination with these other very beautiful women. And so it sets off a comparison and a competition that's this very, very, very personally destructive on the part of the wife. And then thirdly, what I've discovered in this marriage counseling is that there's an affair-like feeling to it, and all that has to be dealt with, and it's very, very powerful and very, very destructive. But there's something going on beneath the surface that's equally as damaging, if not even more so. It's got to be at least equally. And I'm talking about the matter of trust. This man, the husband, has been lying to his wife. He have been lying for months, maybe for years, maybe for decades. Maybe he started lying to her about this by not telling her before they got married. Maybe he told her that it was over, but he didn't tell her when he resumed it. And so there's a great deal of deception usually going on among the husbands in this case. Lying, hiding, being very, very secretive. And a wife now feels like, I can't trust my husband anymore. He's lied to me. What else is he lying to me about? And so that trust factor is crucial to a successful relationship. And it's been destroyed. Now, it can be rebuilt, but it is going to take a long time. She gives you trust when she marries you, but if you destroy that trust, now that trust, like a foundation, needs to be laid brick by brick, day by day, brick by brick. It can be rebuilt, but when it's destroyed by virtue of lying and deception on the part of the husband, it's very, very damaging. And then the subsequent consequence of that is that the wife now, she starts becoming the pornographic police. Now she's suspicious. Now she's questioning you. Now she's following you. Now she's asking where you're going. Who have you been with? What have you been doing? Well, let me see your phone. Give me your password. What you've been doing on the computer. Now she starts, because she's hurt and sad and betrayed. Now she wants to get deeply involved to control this thing because she doesn't like you doing that. And it's very damaging to her and to the two of you. And a wife very naturally moves into that relationship. And the husband doesn't like that. He doesn't like to be managed and controlled and looked over the shoulder all the time. But that's what happens to a husband who lies to his wife, brings other women into their relationship in this way, and is involved in masturbation alongside of it. So guys, single guys, you need to know this. There's two more things that I'm going to tell you about in video number 4, single guys, and video number 5. But based on my experience, I have hundreds of hours, many hundreds of hours, talking to men who have this problem and talking to their wives whose husbands have had this problem. And what I've tried to do today is to give you a window into what your wife is going to be struggling with if you bring this problem into marriage. Okay? You need to know that. Now, in video number 4, it's going to be the second video that's going to be dedicated to single men. I'm going to be passing along 2 other things that are going to be very, very important for the single guys to know. And look forward to talking to you about those things very, very soon.